Joining us now is retired General Frank McKenzie. He's the former head of U.S. Central Command, and he's the author of the book, The Melting Point, High Command and War in the 21st Century. General, great to have you. There are reports from Israeli sources emerging that Israel is planning this massive and quite significant retaliation against Iran for yesterday's missile attack. What do you think that will look like?
Well, I think it's important to begin with who's in a corner here. Iran is in a corner. They're the nation that's under vast pressure. Their attack yesterday failed. It was a comprehensive failure, despite all the videos that we saw last night and all the light show in the skies. Israel defended itself with our assistance very successfully. Lebanese Hezbollah is no longer able to exercise effective command and control and strike deep into the south of Israel, or they would have done so. So Iran's in a little bit of a corner. That means the initiative, as you noted, now rests squarely with Israel. So Israel will have to consider how you go forward with this. We always say that Iran owns the low steps on the escalation ladder, Israel and the United States on the high steps on the escalation ladder. So they can do just about anything they want right here. And the aftermath of the April bombardment of Israel, as you noted, they were quite circumscribed in their attack, demonstrating dazzling technological mastery, but not hitting a lot of targets, showing the we can come back and do it any night. This time, I suspect it will be a heavier strike. I would just say this. We talk a lot about the Iranian nuclear program and it as a target. I'm very familiar with this. I owned the war plans for this for the United States when I was the Central Command commander. It is a very difficult target. It would require vast resources. It's dispersed, it's deep, it's hard to hit. It's changed a lot in the last 10 years when I first began to study it. So it would be a major task if the Israelis undertook that. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. That would be a political decision. I would argue there are other targets they could hit that might be more proportional to the damage that's been done to them here in the attack of last night.
There are many, General, in Israel right now, including a former prime minister, who are calling this a, quote, once-in-a-half-century opportunity to remake the map of the Middle East. They're arguing we should take out Iran's nuclear reactors.
Well, that would be a very high bar to pursue. It's a long way from Israel. They have the capabilities to strike there. They've demonstrated that. I agree with the Israeli Chief of Defense's assessment. They can strike any target in the region. But let's be very clear, that nuclear target is a hard target to go after. It would be hard for the United States to do it. It would be very hard for Israel to do it as well. There are other things you can do that would unbalance Iran that might be easier to go right now and more proportional to the damage that's been done to Israel in the latest strike. But that's a decision and a calculus that Israel will work through on their own.
The IDF is now fighting Hezbollah terrorists on the ground in Lebanon, and it's already proven deadly with these 8 soldiers killed just in the first day and a half of fighting. Unlike in Gaza, where the Hamas terrorists are hemmed in, they're trapped in Gaza along with all the civilians. Hezbollah terrorists have free reign to move around, and they also have these massive tunnels in Lebanon. This is very difficult urban combat.
It is very difficult combat, but here's the test for Israel. They have to reduce those attacks into northern Israel. We saw the sirens blaring just a few moments ago. We talked about it, 80,000 Israeli citizens forced south. A fundamental goal of the movement north into Lebanon has to be your citizens have got to be able to go back to their homes in northern Israel and be free of the threat of imminent attack from Lebanese Hezbollah. And frankly, that's why you now see Israeli armor, Israeli infantry, Israeli artillery, the combined arms team going forward to clear these positions in the south. They've had great success against the highest echelons of Lebanese Hezbollah. They've essentially erased the command and control, the senior leaders. They've had very good success against many of the precision weapons. But I'll tell you, going against these targets now that can fire short-range, relatively unsophisticated weapons into northern Israel is a very difficult task. It's a task for infantry and armor, and it's going to take some time to do.
There are also reports that Israel was worried that Hezbollah, on the eve of the first anniversary of the October 7th attacks by Hamas, Israel was worried that Hezbollah might launch a similar type of attack from the north, where it is dug in, it is heavily armed, and it has tunnels that are even larger and more sophisticated than the tunnels that Hamas has built beneath Gaza.
Frankly, I think had they wanted to have a successful attack, they would have coordinated it last night with the Iranian attack. to get at Israel at the same time from two directions. The fact that that did not happen may be because they're holding their fire. It may be, and I think this is more likely, because they are unable to coordinate the attack, because many of those decision makers are no longer in a position to make any decisions at all.
Thanks so much for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.